Minority Leader John Badi, Majority Leader Adan Duale, thank you for making time for us tonight. Of course, we've all seen what has been happening in Parliament today. Very quickly, first, let's take a look at what happened last week.
As far as I'm concerned, I still have a problem with fuel, taxation on fuel at whatever percentage.
Honorable John Badi saying last week, as late as Friday, that as far as you're concerned, there should be no tax on petroleum products. What has changed today? You're talking about conditional support.
First of all, when I spoke last week, I was very categorical. I said immediately the president made his pronouncements that he has referred the bill back to us and made it public that he has recommended 8% as VAT on fuel products. I said we would have PG on Tuesday to take a stand.
Yes.
But as minority leader, my opinion is that the petroleum products is already taxed so high at almost 46%, and therefore we needed not to levy more taxes. However,
and do you express that opinion today, or what happened?
It's not just today. We have been in constant consultation as a party and as a coalition from last week. We had meetings yesterday where we discussed into detail and looked at the entire budget process and came up with suggestions, and that is why we are supporting the 8%, but we have also added conditions. If you look at those conditions, they are addressing some of the concerns that I had.
Okay. My specific question still, Honorable Badi, before I come to Honorable Duale, is what exactly has changed?
What exactly has changed is that after discussions, I said we discussed as a party. You know that I gave my personal opinion.
Yes.
And the party sat and we discussed with our experts and we exchanged ideas. That is why we came up with the suggestion that we support the 8%, but with conditions.
Which will still be a problem to Kenyans, isn't it?
Well, the ideal situation would have been that we don't levy VAT on fuel products, but the circumstances have necessitated the same. I will tell you that it is late in the day in the budget making process, that if you have to destabilize revenue in whichever way, then there is need to think through other issues.
And you don't think there was another way that this money could be raised? Now we are I think this is only going to cater for about 17 billion after the cuts from other sectors of the budget. You don't think there's still another way this can be raised? As NASA, I'm talking to you as NASA.
We have proposed other areas, but this is going to be long term. That is why we have talked about austerity measures. We have talked about the issue of looking at the debt or the borrowing. We called it appetite for borrowing. We talked about the ambitious infrastructural development projects.
Although you are not, you're not clear on which projects, for example, should be stalled or stopped. You are not clear on ambitious borrowing or what is the ceiling.
No, you don't expect.
You have not been clear about anything. I'll let you respond. I'll let you respond after this.
Okay, fine.
And many people are actually saying, and we have seen from some MPs raising this, and this actually goes also to you, Honorable Duale, and I'll read a few tweets. Brian Alinga says, I think our MPs could have made personal decisions instead of this rebellion being experienced. Agumba Kagumba on Twitter still, why are you, Honorable Duale and Honorable Mbadi, becoming sycophants at the expense of taxpayers? Can't you reason and stop burdening us? Okay, and still we're getting more and more tweets from Kenyans. Why is it that when we have matters of interest, this is Mugambi Salem, they, members of parliament, convene at State House for advice from Uhuru and Ruto. Are they elected by them, or do they represent Kenyans who elected them? Which that goes to as a question now to both of you. I mean, what is your allegiance to? Kenyans that elected you, taxpayers, who are you listening to? Or is it you listening to both President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga respectively, and not Kenyans? Let me draw it down this to you.
Hussein, Kenya is a parliamentary democracy. And in our formation in parliament, and that's why we have the minority and we have the majority.
Yes.
And when we went to elections, we had leaders, we had parties, we had manifestos, we had agenda for the people of Kenya. So as a member of parliament for Jubilee representing Garissa Township constituency, I am a member of the Jubilee Party. I stand for its manifesto. I stand by its constituency, constitution.
Yes.
And within that party, within that parliamentary democracy, we have leadership. That's why I'm the leader of majority in the National Assembly. That's why we have a party leader. we have a deputy party leader, we have a secretary general.
Right.
And parties all over, even in the US, a time comes when
they adopt a position on the matter.
No, a time comes when the Republican Party will caucus in their many caucus venues provided for under presidential system of government. So there's nothing wrong as caucusing.
Okay.
And
Kenyans are seeing something wrong in the fact that they are going to be burdened and you are not necessarily listening to them.
No, listen.
And this is the point, Honorable Duale. Let me just make this point. I was with you here, I think 2 weeks ago?
Yes,
two weeks ago,
yes.
Yeah? Still on Newsnight.
Yes.
You said then, and you were categorical, let's see what will happen when the president comes, isn't it? You did not give a position whether this should be stopped, and you actually called MPs hypocritical.
Yes.
Honorable Mbadi, you said last week that this should not happen. This should actually be zero-rated.
Can
But
I
you said, let me just finish. You said that was your opinion. It is very clear that both of you have taken a position today after you had a PG meetings with Raila Odinga chairing and President Kenyatta and William Ruto today.
Hussein.
So is it Kenyans or what you've been told by your leaders?
Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta are not people in the streets. They are leaders of various and very popular political parties. In fact, in the reading of a political party, a parliamentary party in our country, it is ODM, Jubilee, and Wiper. But let me come to the question that you have asked. Last week when I was here, Hussein, that bill has left Parliament. It was at the heading to the table of the President.
Yes.
Now it's back to Parliament because the President has exercised the powers given to him by the Constitution and Article 115. So there's nothing out of order. And I told you, if the President return it, either disagreeing with that amendment of Honorable Junet, or reducing, as he did it, then Parliament will again. So President returning the memoranda, us dealing with the bill, all these are the parliamentary processes under which when a legislation is being undertaken in Parliament. There is nothing out of order because today, for example, when 181 members of Parliament went to State House, the President himself as a party leader, as the head of the executive, spoke for more than 1 hour, convincing his members, them asking questions. And at the end of the day, we as a party reached a conclusion, and that is why consultation and concurrence is key in the management of political parties. Okay, I'm
not disputing or refuting that the President is part of the legislative process when it comes to this.
So Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto are running serious political parties in our country.
That's a fact. And but that was not my question.
And that's why the people of Kenya decided to elect Uhuru Kenyatta as the president and Raila Odinga as the leader of the opposition. And
elected both of you as members of parliament, hoping that you'll represent them. But I'll come to that shortly. First, you're talking about the memorandum by President Kenyatta. These are the details today by Francis Kashuri now.
The President's memorandum detailing reasons for declining to assent to the Finance Bill 2018 was largely a guarded document until National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi unveiled it to members of the August House in his communication during a special sitting. Kenyatta, as he had announced on Friday, recommending an 8% VAT on petroleum products that, if adopted by the House, will lower the cost of petrol by about 7 shillings in Nairobi, the government seeking to rake in 17.5 billion shillings per year in the new fuel tax. But paying at the pump awaits users of kerosene, Kenyatta proposing an 18 shillings levy for every litre of paraffin, ostensibly to crack the whip on unscrupulous business people who use paraffin to adulterate diesel. The President also extending his taxation measures to telephone and internet service providers by proposing a 15% excise duty. These, if adopted by the August House, will lead to higher charges for mobile telephone services. For gamblers and those who participate in lotteries, the taxman is eyeing their luck. Kenyatta, in his memorandum, proposing a 20% tax for winners of gambling and lotteries, while firms in this business will have to part with 15%. For those in employment, their monthly pay is also on the President's radar. He is proposing that each employee makes a mandatory contribution of 1.5% of their basic monthly pay to the National Housing Development Fund, while their employers will make a similar contribution that must be remitted before the 9th day of each month. The president, through a supplementary budget, is also proposing to reduce the 3.02 trillion shillings 2018-2019 budget by 55 billion shillings. The 47 county governments will bear the brunt of these cuts, with its shareable revenue being slashed by 9 billion shillings if the House agrees with the head of state. The budget cuts also directed at recurrent expenditure from 1.07 trillion shillings to 1.06 trillion shillings. The 100 million shillings reduction targeted at the government's hospitality budget. The 677 billion shillings allocated to development expenditure will be revised downwards by 35 billion shillings if the August House will agree with the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary in the supplementary budget. But it will be a test of character for the lawmakers and their resolve to defy the president and NASA leader Raila Odinga when they vote on Thursday. Rotich is proposing to reduce CDF by 5.9 billion shillings, affirmative action that is managed by women representatives by 2 billion shillings, an equalization fund by 3.8 billion shillings. The amount of money earlier meant for rehabilitation of roads is also a target for budget cuts, and so is the digital literacy program, as well as the distribution of cooking gas. The energy sector will also have its budget traded if the president's proposals sail through in the House. Last-mile connectivity, street lighting, electrification of public facilities, and installation of transformers in constituencies are some of the sectors whose budgets are targeted for slashing. Members of Parliament will vote on the president's memorandum on Thursday, and it will require at least 233 MPs to overturn any proposal in the president's memorandum. Members of the August House have yet another opportunity to determine the direction the country's budget-making process will take. While on one hand, some members of parliament say agreeing with the president's memorandum is tantamount to political suicide, others see the sense in the proposals made by the head of state. Ultimately, the vote that they will take on Thursday will determine this matter. Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV, Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
Right, and we've had, I'm bringing this issue because you've had other MPs who are saying that they're being forced to do this, and you'll respond to that later or shortly. But my question to you, Dwale, before we took a break was very simple. I'm not saying that Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, or Raila Odinga, or any other head of a party does not have the right to take a position on the matter. I am saying as members of parliament, you know what the budget was, you know what the estimates were. You've talked about before, last week, and you said it's your opinion about zero rating on any tax on petroleum products. Honorable Dwale, you did not take a position when I was here with you. Why is it that positions have come after parliamentary group meetings? Because you also had these budget estimates before. As members of parliament informed for the people, you could have made these decisions by yourself.
You know, first of all, Hussein, I think it should be understood that the truth is that members of parliament are elected by their constituents and are supposed to speak and represent their people.
Yes.
But it should also be understood that we belong to political parties. And if you want to be an independent MP, then you run as an independent. But we are members of political parties. And I don't know where this idea is coming from, that when we call for a PG and our party leaders come for those PGs, that they dictate to us. We sit and discuss.
What do you think should have taken precedence here? The party or the people on this matter?
No, the matter is the people.
So what took precedence according to you? Because you changed your opinion.
It's even the people, but you are forgetting, Hussein, that you know matters like this, there is give and take. It is not that every day what you want, you will get. And by the way, you should remember that the first proposal was to have VAT as 16%. It is through us, as NASA, through our whip, who recommended that we postpone it for 2 years. Fortunately, our colleagues in Jubilee worked together with us in passing that amendment. And so it was a unanimous, harmonious agreement by the two parties. Now, today, the president has recommended that yes, you wanted it at 0%, the government wanted 16%. I suggest that we come halfway to 50%. Both parties have caucused, engaged, discussed, and agreed in PGs. Then why does it turn out now like people were forced to take this position?
Because some MPs have said that.
If we were forced, if there was a force, then there was no need for us to hold PGs.
Okay, if you're
but
saying
we
that,
held PGs
if you're saying
and
that,
discussed
if you're saying
and
that
agreed.
Senator Moses Wetangula today on Twitter, this is just 2 hours ago, said there has been no agreed coalition position on the VAT saga. He says our opposition to imposition of a further tax load remains intact. The ODM leader's statement, he calls it an ODM leader statement, because you said in that press briefing that this is NASA's position. The ODM leader's statement is personal and does not in any way represent NASA. NASA MPs are advised to play their opposition role. He actually doesn't think you're playing the opposition role.
Two things before the leader comes in. Two things. Wetangula said he left NASA, or there was no NASA. Two,
so they were Fort Kenya MPs
just a minute. Two, his MPs were there, Chris Wamalwa and others. But listen, if Wetangula knew that this motion or this debate was coming up this afternoon, did he call for Fort Kenya PG? Then why is he talking now? You know, this is the question that sometimes you ask some leaders.
No, Honorable Dole, shortly, I'll come to you, I'll give you all the time. Honorable Manzo was in that PG today, and he's now joining us live from Karen. Honorable Manzo, that is Makueni Member of Parliament. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Hope you've been following this interview. First, are you for this position? Will you support it on Thursday? Are you like other MPs? Some other MPs who are saying they feel like they're being forced to do this. Are you one of them? Did you agree with the PG today? Was it representative of all your feelings?
Yes, I attended the PG today. It was a NASA PG. And the instructions I have from the people of Makueni who elected me, despite the political party position.
Go ahead.
And you know there are very many bright economists there who follow. Is that there be zero, this VAT be zero rated.
And so what are you
saying? For that matter, I'll vote.
Against?
Yes, I'll vote against, this VAT because that's the instructions I have from despite the political party position, which has conditions. We have given conditions as a political party.
So what was the reason for you attending that PG?
But my people
and you
are
were there when Honorable Mbadi and Junaid Mohammed were reading the resolutions. You did not object to anything?
Yes, I gave my statement today and indicated, what the wishes of the people were.
You gave your position in the PG?
I also, well, everyone gave their idea and also shared what the people who have elected us wish to see happen.
Okay.
And therefore, the political party also took a position.
How wide, finally, Honorable Manzo, yeah. How many more MPs do you think have or think like you now ahead of Thursday?
There are very many members of Parliament on both divide of the House who want to go by the people, and we are aware from the estimates. We can raise enough money to cater for what can be changed, and especially if we fight corruption.
So there are other ways to do this.
We have enough money, to run Kenyans.
So generally, do you think this will pass on Thursday? Or it is you and MPs who think like you, like-minded, who will have their day?
I will vote independently and I will vote no.
Okay.
First, let me just remind Manzo that when we were in that meeting, Raila Odinga did mention that he spoke with Kalonzo Musyoka, and they agreed on this position. And I want to repeat here that our leaders, Kalonzo Musyoka was quoted widely as saying he thanks the president for the move that the president took, which means he agreed with the president. Musalia Mudavadi was the first leader of NASA, actually, to agree with the president that he wanted 10% or 12%, but now it is 8%. I want to remind Manzo that, sometimes you can hold a position, but the moment a PG of your party takes a decision, then the most civilized thing to do is to support that position, unless now you come out clearly that you are disagreeing fundamentally with the party. So it is dishonest to say. In fact, I didn't hear from him any serious reservations with our position.
Okay. In that
Hussein, we are for the people. The people are concerns in the next or this financial year, it's not only about the 8%. The people of this country want free primary education, free secondary education to be implemented. The people of this country want universal health care and free maternity health care. The people of this country want more roads. They want more money for the social net for the elderly. The people of this country want the railway to be built up to Kisumu. They want more electricity connectivity. So when people say we are voting for the people 8%, then that is a very naive way of thinking. The people of Kenya want more money in CDF. They want more money in county governments.
Okay.
They want more money in... So what we are trying to do as party leaders and as party parliamentary group meetings, we convinced our members today, beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, the president did it and shows the pros and cons. And ultimately, we have to strike a balance. And if you look at that gap of 55 billion, 11.7 billion will come from the recurrent budget. That means domestic, foreign, hospitality, all other measures have been cut.
Okay.
The other one, then there's 34 billion from development, from key other sectors, and then 9 billion from county government. All these, tomorrow again, will be subjected to public participation, which Honorable Bandi is a member of the Budget Committee.
Right.
And the National Treasury and the members of the Budget Committee will agree, and they may look at other areas, and then bring a report to the House on Thursday morning, which will... So all of us together, but you know, we don't want leaders to be very dishonest. Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is the leader of the Wiper Party. He spoke on Saturday, in fact, in the same function with the former Prime Minister. Honorable Manzo, and I can tell you for free, mark my word, Thursday Honorable Manzo will vote with me. And that's why by the way, that is why we are called leaders. The remaining members of parliament who still are in the middle, it is our business to go and convince them and lobby.
Regardless of what their people may have told them. Their people don't matter here.
You know,
like what Manzo is saying.
You know, Hussein, these people are Kenyans, the citizens.
Yes.
And you know, for the first time, let me tell you, Hussein, for the first time in this region, we are the only country that finances its budget through our own revenue collection. We do all these things we are doing apart from the concessionary loans because the people of Kenya, about 18 to 19%, pay taxes.
My question again, Honorable, very briefly, because you've talked about striking a balance. You talked about the same too,
yes.
Looking at the things that need to be addressed in the budget. How do you gauge? Because you're saying Kenyans need all these services, so this is why you think Kenyans should also pay this. From the feelings we are getting from Kenyans and feedback you can see on Twitter on 22422, majority definitely are saying you should have done away with this. You're talking about 17 billion is what you raised this year. Couldn't you get this from somewhere else? Can't you squeeze this money from somewhere? And how do you get
where is the 17 what?
Billion.
From where?
From this 8% now.
17.5?
Yes.
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 You can't get it from anywhere else? You can't still squeeze
but you know, Hussein, it is you now to tell me so that I can answer your question. Which are these areas? Because going to another area means you're taxing another sector.
And that's why I asked you, how do you gauge when you say Kenyans can live with this? How do you gauge that they can live with this? How do you gauge that this is what they don't want you to do?
I'll give you a good example why they can live with. If you calculate the 8% on VAT and what is the cumulative cost that will go to transport is less than 7 shillings. And today it was less than our PG. So if Kenyans were traveling from point A to point B and they were paying 100 shilling, the increase should only be 7 shilling, 107. And that's why we'll ask. We'll go further and ask NTSA that anybody who will charge, because right now, Kenyans are charged 40% by transporters. And in fact, even if we pass 8%, some of them will not bring down the cost.
That's a fact. Hussein,
you remember, about 1 year ago, there was a time the fuel went to 70, 80 shillings per litre. The fares went down. So, you know, we need to speak from a position of fact and truth.
But the other issues, of course, of increased cost of production and what that means to consumers. But
the cumulative is less than between 7 to 10 shillings. From a cost-benefit analysis. So
which is you know, insignificant to you? Or?
No. compared to what is in the market that this fuel is going to increase. Hussein, what are the indicators, if you allow me, what are the indicators of an economy that's doing very well? The inflation rate, the growth rate of this economy, the interest rate, the 91 days treasury bill interest rate, the volatility of the shilling. Kenyan economy is doing very well.
Let's take a look at tweets now. Feedback of what Kenyans are saying. Again, we have Brian, Linga, I think MPs have made personal decision instead of this rebellion being experienced. They can't stand with their words. I think I read that earlier. Jackson Mosegere, it's clear that we, common Monanchi, were left in Misri when others reached Canaan, if this is what the handshake meant. But of course, many people saying NASA has taken this position because of the handshake. And I'll give you the last one because you haven't talked for as we wind up. David Gurenganga says, Dwale and Badi are clear examples that they don't work for the poor Wanjiku. And they living in Kenya. I'm sorry, it wasn't timely to support the proposals at the moment. Ask the duo to read Shamba la Wanyama book, if you have read it, okay?
It's better I read the Animal Farm. Shamba la Wanyama, I think it should be Animal Farm.
Right.
How it means is Swahili.
Look at those. Look at the feedback we're getting, and how do you respond to it? I don't know, buddy. And those who are saying, I mean, this is just NASA. This is about the handshake and you giving in to the pressures of the handshake.
First of all, you know, there's this talk that VAT was that is going to be zero rated. There is nothing like zero rating VAT on fuel products. What is there is that we were suspending VAT, which is at 16% on fuel products for 2 years.
Yes.
So we were not going to charge it, but it is there.
Yes.
Now, what is in the amendment is that it is 8% and not 16. Now, those who are talking about the handshake, yes, the handshake came. And the handshake means now we have to understand each other between Jubilee and NASA or ODM if you want, because I can see Wetangula has a problem. I don't want to give him problem wherever he is. Let me put it ODM and Jubilee. And we said that we would be engaging and in areas of common interest to the people of Kenya.
For the sake of Kenyans or for the sake of NASA?
For the sake of Kenyans. And that is why, first, I said that the suspension for 2 years, or the recommendation to suspend this tax for 2 years, was brought by Junet Mohammed on our behalf. But Jubilee supported it. Okay. If we were not engaging the way we have been engaging lately, that support would have not come. And we would not even be talking about 8%. We would be talking about 16%. Now, what the president did, after Parliament had decided to suspend this tax for 2 years, the president said, no, I don't agree with you to suspend it for 2 years. But I'm also giving concession to allow reduction to 50%. To me, that is what we call give and take. And by the way, it is not just in this country where we have seen this happening. Even in the in the most developed democracy like the US, budget is usually negotiated between the Republicans and the Democrats. Sometimes Democrats, when Obama was in the State House, Republicans held them at ransom.
Right.
And even right now, Democrats would hold Trump at ransom. Okay. So, but finally, they again later agree. So Kenya is not the first country where we have disagreed, but later on we discuss and agree.
But Hussein, there was 16% VAT chargeable on petroleum products, passed in 2013. So that law exists. What the president did, because he listened to the concerns and the cries of the people of Kenya, he says, let us first reduce it on the people of Kenya, 50%. And then the 50% gap, the 17-point-something billion gap found in the budget, the president says, let us now share it between other arms of government, the national government, parliament, and the county government. So that all of us together, we will now get a way out. And to support, let me tell you, Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta coming together, one was for the stability of our nation. Two was that, and he made it very clear, and Honorable Badi made it very clear a number of times, that matters of common interest, you can forge an alliance. You know, Honorable Wetangula, my very good friend, and I have a lot of respect for him. Number one, he's not a member of the National Assembly. So he doesn't have a budget making powers.
He has MPs in the National Assembly.
If Honorable Wetangula was a serious leader of even his own political party, one, he should not have allowed Honorable Chris Wamalo and part of his party members to attend a NASA PG. He should have had his own PG, even if there are 14 members. But you know, today, today you don't tweet. One time you're saying you're a member of NASA. Anyway, that is NASA family. But I think it's very unfair, and I think what we have done is we have agreed as a parliament and the executive, let us spread the tax.
Okay.
50% we have reduced on the people of Kenya.
Right.
And 50% we are going to share among
all actors. And you're both confident that this will pass on Thursday, so we'll wait and see how that goes. Kenyans will judge you the way they want to.
No, our business is to convince our colleagues, and today we have convinced a junk number. You know, when two parties speak, Jubilee and ODM, I can tell you 85% of the House speaks.
Okay, and Badi is not interjecting to support NASA here, but it's okay, we'll leave it at that.
No, what did you want me to say?
Nothing.
No. Let me put it clearly.
But, okay.
But you see, the matter is being reduced sometimes to ODM, sometimes to NASA.
Okay.
But for sure, I will tell you, this is a decision that NASA took. An individual in NASA or a leader in NASA may disagree, but it is a NASA position.
All right, and Kenyans still keep tweeting very briefly. In fact, these ones have actually DM'd me. That is a direct message. The Twitter handle, of course, my Twitter handle is Hussein Mohammed G. We have Dio who says, can they also tax MPs' allowances? This is long overdue.
It is being taxed.
There
is no allowance of MPs who are...
Every penny that we get
is
taxed.
You know, Hussein, this is the kind of sometimes ignorance that I see Kenyans.
Okay, you've responded to him.
From 2010, MPs' allowances have been taxed.
Kirwa Meli also asked them to withdraw their sitting allowances because they already paid for. I don't know what you mean by that. Raila and Uhuru, Ed Diagon says, are not PG members. Why do they have to sit and discuss with you, if not to dictate and impart sense? Wow, okay, I won't read the rest of that. Jemo Kibet asking whether we have opposition or all wananchi to declare themselves as opposition. Well, keep texting us. 22422 on Twitter is the hashtag. NEWSNIGHT. Finally, Jared Mainya, who says, there's nothing pleasing to God like when we live together and coexist as brothers and sisters. Uhunye and Baba are always right. Keep texting us. 22422 on Twitter is the hashtag NEWSNIGHT. Thank you both for making time for us tonight. Kenyans have said we'll judge you. We'll wait to see what happens on Thursday.